I think it's very necessary, especially as we enter into 2025, that you spend a lot of time learning new languages, learning new programming languages. I think there was a time when it was acceptable to just have your main language, that the one that you knew very well. For me, that's C sharp, and you could kind of ride on the back of that for quite a while. You could probably make a whole career out of that. But as we see the rate of change increasing, and as we see honestly just how a turbulent 2024 is carrying into 2025, I think it's becoming increasingly more evident that we need to learn new languages, really as many as we can. And you don't have to become an expert in it. You don't have to memorize all the, obscure syntax or all the nuances of the language. As long as you understand the fundamentals and the principles of things like memory management in the language, things like null checks, and just generally safe coding standards for whatever language you happen to be learning, I think it may be necessary to do that, especially coming into 2025, as we already are almost into February, which is crazy. And we've seen layoffs, we've seen um, cuts in terms of budget at companies, and we've seen a lot of things happening that have gone public and people have already been laid off. Um, and so I feel like just to better the odds, better your odds in terms of securing a job in this field, but also just retaining a job, I think it's going to be necessary to learn more languages. So for me, I know C sharp. It may be in my interest to learn Java, or at least have a fundamental understanding of Java to be able, if I needed to transition to something that was in Java. And I feel like there used to be a time when you could be comfortable in your language, your IDE, and your framework that you use. But I feel like now we may have to sacrifice some of the comfort in terms of what our preference is for language of choice in order to maintain job security. And if it means that I have to go and learn Java and Rust, then I'll learn Java and Rust. And I've already learned Rust to an extent. I've read a couple books and we've done some content about a year ago on the channel pertaining to Rust. I think it's a really unique language. And so I have that kind of in the back of my toolbox, if you want to use if you want to use that analogy, which I do not like, but it's just the first thing that came to mind. So if if you want to, oh no, I'm not going to be able to think of anything because I used a corporate buzzword, but here we are, and you know how I feel about corporate buzzwords. I don't like them, but I know how to use Rust. I know the basics of it, and I could probably get by if I had to do something professionally with Rust. I feel like I need to do the same thing with Java. I feel like I need to actually spend some serious time learning Java and learning a little bit beyond the fundamentals of it, to be honest. I may need to go and actually spend serious time making some kind of project, personal project in Java. Now, there's a lot of overlap between C Sharp and Java, um, but I don't know it. I don't know the language, and it may be worthwhile. It may be in my interest to do so. Now, you don't want to just have like a surface level understanding of like 100 programming languages. You really still want to have almost a complete and total understanding of at least one or two languages, so you can always fall back and use those professionally. But what you need to do is, I think you need to continue to add into that list of things that you have like a 50% to 75% understanding of, because I think that if you can list that as something that you know how to use and something that you'd be able to, competently say that you can use professionally in a job, I think it's going to help us out because, again, given the speed of change and how quickly not only junior jobs are being kind of phased out with the advent of a lot of accessible AI technologies that can generate a lot of code that more or less works with a little bit of tinkering here and there. I think we're just going to continually see this broadening of uh, scope of responsibilities for all of us as developers, whether that's junior, mid, senior, whatever it is. I don't really think titles even matter at this point, to be honest with you. I think it's only going to continue to ramp up into 2025 and into the years after. And so, it's all kind of a game of, you know, how do you stay up with the tide? How do you stay over the current? And one way to do that is just to continually to learn languages, whether or not you actually use them. Just something to give you a talking point in an interview helps. And I know it can be frustrating, and I know it can feel like we're never really getting above the over the curve in terms of moving beyond having to always learn. But that's a little bit, I feel like, what we sign up to do when we enter into this career is that we kind of sign on to always learn and to always increase our skills, to be honest. And it can be exhausting and it can be very frustrating after a while, but I feel like that's what we're going to have to do. um, so let me know, like, I mean, do you all have a language that you're trying to learn? I'm trying to think for myself, right? I learned Rust, so I feel like the next logical choice is probably Java, um, unless there's a better option. I don't know. Let me know what you all think, and I'll see you in the next one.